Welcome to episode 2 of Analog Chats, and today we're going to be talking to the lovely and super knowledgeable photographers that are Albert and Kris. And we are going to be talking about large format photography, Leicas, street photography, amongst lots of other interesting topics too. So we hope you enjoy this episode and stay tuned for more.
Question for both of you. What was your first film camera you ever used?
I was born in the 70s. So back in the days, there was only film camera. So I remember a camera from my father. It was actually a XA Olympus. When I really got into photography, when I said, "Oh, I need a camera for myself," I bought Olympus OM2. And back in the days, it cost me 800 French francs, which is about today £100.
But back then it was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. Yeah. Second hand, but a lot of money. And and I kept that camera for many years. I still have it actually, but I don't use it anymore.
What about you, Albert?
Same kind of. When I started taking pictures, film photography is all there was. I got this. It was my dad's camera. It's a Zeiss Icon Voigtlander. So,
oh, interesting.
It's quite a cheap camera, but it feels heavy, and it's SLR, and it's got this 50mm f2.8 lens on it. But there's also a telephoto lens and a wide-angle lens for it. But it doesn't work anymore. So, the shutter cloth is stuck. I might send it to PPP. Have a look. But I've kept it for sentimental reasons. So this was my first 35, and this was high school. So when I was 15, 16, I guess, around there. And then high school happens. You forget about all of these things.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then back in university, around 2014, 2015. I was visiting my parents back home, and I found this in my dad's closet. A Mamiya C220.
Ooh, sick.
That's cool.
And the rest is history. I started taking film pictures again in 2014. It was quite difficult to get hold of chemicals and film in South Africa, where I grew up or was studying. So I kind of did it on and off. It's only when I moved to the UK that it really kicked off again. When I suddenly realized, I can order all of these things online and it'll be delivered to my door. Where, getting it in South Africa was kind of like going to this one specialist shop and they would mix the chemicals for you. It was unbranded. And there was this one little shop that would have film. You would have to develop everything yourself. And then I started spending money on cameras, eBay. And,
obviously.
I actually started here with Yashica Electro. And that's I think where I started spending too much money on cameras. It was kind of all downhill from there.
Also, another question I want to ask you, Kris. So we see you when you come to meetups with your M7, with your Leica M7. So my question for you is, when did you get your first Leica and what made you get one?
My first Leica, I got it about, not too sure actually, maybe about 10 years ago, roughly. I was shooting with obviously my OM2, and then I got my Olympus OM4, and then I was really resisting in the early 2005, resisting digital. And one day I say, let's do it. Let's it seems amazing. So I bought my first DSLR, which was a Canon 40D. And then I moved to fashion photography. So I bought Canon 5D Mark II. And that was it. And then at some point I had few cameras here and there from my grandfather, from my father. I bought a few here. So at the end I got like 15 cameras. So For some people, it's maybe not a lot, but for me, it was quite a lot, and too many actually. And at some point, I was a bit not fed up, but bored by the digital cameras, and I wanted to go back to film camera. And I started to be also interested in photography, documentary photography, war photography, and street photography, but without knowing it was street. Actually, it was called street photography. People like Cartier-Bresson and Joel Meyerowitz and all those guys. But I was interested by their pictures, and I loved the fact that it was really candid pictures. And yeah, so I started again to do research on internet this time, and realized that they were actually using, most of them using a Leica. As a stupid young photographer, like, they took those amazing pictures and they shot with a Leica. So if I buy a Leica, I should be able to do the same. Taking pictures with a Leica, it's really different from taking a picture with a SLR. When I look through a viewfinder of a Leica, as the purpose of the Leica, I really focus on the frame and the composition of what it is. I try to balance as much as I can whatever I see. I just don't take pictures like, I like this scene, I take it. I try to analyze as fast as I can. Sometimes you just can't, you just shoot and that's it. But if you have time, you try to analyze and try to compose. And really, Leica was a big help for me. Yeah. Not that there's only Leica who does rangefinders, but because it was back in the days, the best camera and all the famous photographers were shooting with Leica and so on. I thought, that was the best thing to do, buy a Leica. And on top of that, I was also, I wanted to have something that lasts in the years. I mean, a camera that you would keep for forever. And then why M7? Probably because I'm a lazy photographer. I didn't want to be annoyed by all those settings and so on. So yeah, for me, M7, which is a aperture priority, was perfect for me. Easy to use. You frame and you shoot. Easy.
So Albert, you've been into large format photography for a while now, and we've actually seen your large format camera at a meetup. For anyone that doesn't know much about it, could you give us kind of a brief overview?
Just have to say that I'm quite green still, but large format photography, I mean, you've got your different kinds of formats. You've got typical 35mm, Leica, Canon, so forth. You've got medium format, which the frame is quite bigger. It's usually 6 centimeters by something, 6 by 6, 6 by 7, so forth. And I think anything larger than that is large format. The smallest large format is 4 inches by 5 inches. But a lot of people also shoot 8 by 10. And then you can get even larger, called ultra large format. It goes up to 20 by 24 inches.
Wow.
But that's if you have the money, I guess, and a lot of time. Yeah, because one of the big reasons I got into large format photography is it forces you to slow down even more than regular photography. It's a very measured process, very kind of ritualistic thing, where you have to set up your tripod, put up your camera, unfold it, put on the lens, frame your scene, do your exposure, metering, decide you don't like the scene, pick up everything, put it on your shoulder, walk 5 meters, and start all over again. Yeah, and then once you're happy, you need to wait for the light to be right, for the wind to die down, put in your film holder, and then hope for the best. It's quite expensive, I mean, but very satisfying when you actually get home and you develop the pictures, the negatives, and you scan them. There's nothing quite like seeing a large negative scan. And I've been lucky enough to shoot slide film with it as well. Putting that big 4x5 inch positive on a light table is just something else. film photography has always been about the process for me, from start to finish, and it's kind of even more of a process with large format. Also gives you a bit of a workout, because I like putting it in a backpack on my back and hiking for 10-20 kilometers and taking pictures along the way.
What would you recommend for anyone that's looking into it and wanting to start in large format? What would be your advice to them?
I'd say, look at the Intrepid. They've come a very long way, and they're excellent value for money. But I mean, there's also Chroma camera, and a few others like that. There are kind of building large format cameras from cheaper materials, but it doesn't necessarily mean the cameras aren't as good. All you need is a sturdy tripod. I would say we're looking at a lens. You buy a 150mm lens, which is kind of the standard thing to start with. 1 or 2 film holders, and that's it. It's actually all you need. I think you can get away below 700 pounds to start with. And if you're looking at, point and shoots these days, if you look at Contax T2 or T3, you can basically buy a whole proper large format, one of the more expensive brands, like a Chamonix, everything with that money. I would say go for a dive in. There's lots of resources on the internet. There's lots of people out there that are really not shy to give advice and to help out. But you will waste a lot of money in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of so it's so easy to make a double exposure, or to forget that you open the shutter to compose your frame, and you waste a frame like that, or you forgot which ones are exposed. And there's a lot of mistakes you can make, but at the end of the day, once you get into it, it's quite rewarding. I can actually show you my camera if you want to see it.
Oh yeah, definitely show it.
So it's quite big. It's about, I think, 1.6 kilograms, and it just kind of folds open. It's a bit more elaborate than the Chamonix or the Intrepid, because I think it's more solid. I've been looking at the Chamonix actually, and deciding whether I want to upgrade, but it turns out this camera is just as good. After a bit of research, I'll be keeping it. I've just bought a 90mm lens, which is quite a wide angle. It's about equivalent to 28mm in 35. And I've had a bit of trouble with movements because the lens is so close to back standard. You can't do a lot of movements. And that's another thing that's cool about a large format. You can actually, play with tilt, shift, rise, fall, and get looks and pictures that are quite unique to everything else out there.
I was going to ask, since you've started doing large format, is there one photo that you're just really proud of? I
think you've seen the one with the train tracks, which is quite nice. And there's just a landscape of Aylesford that I shot as well. So far, I've enjoyed doing more black and white with the camera. Color is still a bit. It's still a bit. You need good light. And you need patience to make color actually look very good, in my opinion.
This is a question for both of you. Are there any cameras out there that you haven't tried before that you would love to try?
Believe it or not, I almost got into large format photography at some point. One of the reasons why I wanted to do fashion photography a long time ago now was because I really loved the pictures of Paolo Versi. He's an Italian fashion photographer. He got famous by shooting large formats, and he used color Polaroids. And I really loved the tones, I loved the lights, and I loved the fact that it was a bit, that tilt and shift effect. And I was like, how can you do that? How can you do that? Because obviously back in the days, for me, I only had a SLR, so I was like, how can you do that blurry part of the picture and very sharp here? And again, I did research and I found out that he was using a large format photography. So like I think it was 8 by 10. He was using 8 by 10. And yeah, I was like, okay, I should buy the 8 by 10. Probably I would love to take pictures with a 8 by 10, maybe a portrait or something like that.
Now's as good as time as any to buy an 8 by 10.
True.
Yeah.
You're home. No, but my real fantasy is 20 by 24. You know that huge one. I forgot her name. She just passed away recently.
Elsa Dorfman.
Yes, Elsa Dorfman. She used to have a 20 by 24, and it's
Polaroid.
Yeah. So you
peel apart.
You got you peel apart the whole picture and you got it in your hands. Basically, it's crazy, and I would love to one day just try do a portrait or whatever with that camera. So I think there's like, I don't know, 20 in the world available or working or something like that, maybe 10 or 20 or something like that. So it's quite rare. But yeah, so that's the one I'd love to try.
I don't have anything as grand. My ambitions are smaller. I think I'd like to shoot with a Plauwel Machina, which is a medium format kind of folder rangefinder. Just like the look of it, but I can't really justify the price. It is a lot lighter, I guess, to carry around than my Pentax 6.7. But it's either that or it's I don't know if you've seen that Fuji large format panorama camera that does, I think, 6 by, I think it's 17. Yeah.
17, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Something crazy.
Yeah. I'd like to try that out as well. I like kind of experimenting as well. So yeah, I've been doing I've spent a lot of money on a pile of peel apart film. That's another thing. The cool thing about the large format is you don't have to shoot only large format. You can get different back spread. So you can shoot wider. You can actually shoot 6 by 17 medium format with it. You can shoot peel apart film with it. So yeah, I guess that's another reason for you to get a large format camera, is to kind of experiment with all kinds of formats. You don't need to just shoot large format.
Kris, you do a lot of street photography, and it's something that I have been really interested in lately, but I feel like I lack the confidence that you sort of need to be quite good at it. I think I shy away from just taking a picture of someone because I feel a bit awkward about it. So do you have any tips? And do you have any favorite photos that you've taken as well?
When I was doing street photography without knowing it was named street photography, I was taking sort of city landscape, so you can say that. Anything that really attract my eyes, I was like, oh, that's nice, let's take a picture of that. I was not really taking a picture of people. I was more taking a picture of things in the street, whatever. And then I started to understand that it was street photography, and then I started to read more things about street photography, and I saw pictures of photographers taking people in the streets, pictures of people, and I thought, yeah, well, that's nice also, and I want to do that as well. So I just hit the streets with my camera and started to mimic the same pictures without really knowing how to do it. And one day I traveled to India, and probably because it's a different country, probably because I knew that I would go there and go back to my country, so nobody would care if I ask or if I take pictures of other people. And I set myself a sort of a challenge to ask people in the streets as much as I could if I could take their picture. because a lot of time I was like, oh, I should have asked, and I missed so many good pictures, hopefully, by not asking, by not daring to ask. So I said, okay, this time you're in an amazing country, you do amazing pictures, just go for it. I mean, nobody's gonna kill you, nobody's gonna, worst thing they're gonna say is say no. And you just smile and say, bye, thank you, bye. So yeah, I started to, just jump, and very easily, very in an easy way, you just say, hi, can I take a picture? They say yes or no, fine. Or just, hi, I love your hat, or I love your necklace, or oh, you've got an amazing watch, or what it is. You just engage the conversation, and just talk for a few minutes or a few seconds, whatever. And at the end, just ask, oh, do you mind if I take your picture? And if the guys think you're nice, most of the time, 95% of the time, they would say yes. But obviously, if you jump on someone in the street, it depends. Obviously, that was easy in India. So people are really fascinated by Westerns. I don't know why. They love to take pictures of you and so on. So that was a bit funny. So it's an easy country, I would say, to take pictures of people, street photography. But when you get back to Europe, it's another story, and sometimes people can get really either annoyed or aggressive or that kind of stuff. But I had that confidence. I built that confidence. I started to build that confidence in India.
Is there a favorite that you have that you've taken that you're really proud of?
The pictures I really probably am the most proud of are probably the pictures I took in India. But those are not even analog pictures. Those are digital pictures. So not really relevant here.
A picture is a picture, no matter the format. So
yeah, of course, it doesn't matter. I mean, I was like anti iPhone. I don't care now. I was like, no, I will never post a picture on my Instagram with coming from my phone. Now I'm like, who cares? I mean, they're good enough in terms of quality. So on Instagram, you've got film, you've got digital with a DSLR, you've got digital with a phone. Now I don't care.
When do we get to see each other again in real life?
Yeah.
I know. It would be so nice to have these conversations in person soon. I feel like we're getting close to that, hopefully. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much. This was really great, and hopefully, we'll see you soon in real life.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you.